Hey everybody, it's Callous. Welcome back to Callous Draft Duel, round of 32. That is the first round. It is a single elimination tournament, and this is the best of three follow-up to the draft, which we did cover on this channel, between DarthTyros and Gold. Tyros being on the bottom, and Gold or Mason or GoldMason being on the top. Like I said, if you guys want to see how they got here, how they got the mons that they did, go ahead and check out the draft. There is a link to that video in the description. Also in the description is a link to my Discord server. If you guys want to hang out, play with my trivia bot, see these drafts live as they happen, see the announcements before anybody else for any future events that I may or may not run, we'll see. That is the place to do it, and I certainly appreciate everybody's support. And finally, the last thing that you can do in my Discord server, really important, you can donate to this tournament if you've been enjoying it. Strictly optional, but if you do, it is via PayPal donation link in my server. I don't keep any of the money whatsoever. It all goes into the prize pool, which is currently just a smidge over 300 bucks. Not bad, but I would really like to get it to at least 5, if at all possible, by the end of this. All that being said, let's get into the best of three between Tyros and Mason. Here is game one, and Tyros is on the bottom with a shiny, what a snazzy guy, a shiny Regirock lead, which is going to prompt out Raichu. Interesting. I don't know if anyone else even picked Raichu, but not only was it picked by Mason, but he's going to run it. Fori here is going to land a Toxic, but this Rock Slide at +2, Fori only takes that neutrally rather than resisting it, so it's going to do some meaningful damage, but Mason doesn't seem too phased by it. He's just going to spike up, and he's going to spike up again and let the Fori go, so he's traded a Toxic and 2 layers of spikes. Intimidate does not happen here because of Clear Body. I guess he was trying to bait out a Rock Slide, but he doesn't actually have a Rock Resist in the back, so that was not that exciting. I think he might have forgotten about Clear Body. I think if he was going to go with this line of play where he simply substitute stalls the thing out, I think the play would have been to just go to Kangaskhan immediately and start subbing. Like I said, I think he was banking on Intimidate actually working and maybe forgot about Clear Body there. It certainly seems that way. The Mence play only makes sense if you're either getting the Intimidate or you are baiting out a Rock Slide and then you have an actual Rock Resist in the back, but neither of those seem to be the case. And that's a lucky miss there. Despite the Intimidate, the Stab Rock Slide there absolutely would have done a lot to the Mence. And it is a mixed Mence, going to go for Dragon Claw, which is ballsy. Switching it up now to a surprise HP Electric, however, nailing the Gyarados, so pretty lucky that he brings the HP Electric Mon and happens to run into the Gyarados in the first round, and that actually puts Mason in the lead, 5-4, and he's got the Spikes advantage. That's something he can actually intimidate, but a Curse undoes part of it, so he's at +1, +2 here, and of course minus speed, but not relevant. Raichu coming in, and the idea of that switch was for the Lax to Curse, and then Raichu could lock him on Curse via Encore, but Tyros wisely does not keep cursing up and just goes for the Body Slam, which he's going to do again here, and he finds a Para on Arcanine, but that is Intimidate Mon number 2, so Lax is back to its normal attack stat, and of course hefty defense. Good old Resto Chesto here, but he's immediately re-paralyzed, which is unlucky for Gold. And he's going to go for Thief, going to try to get him that way. He's going to hope that the Sand, in conjunction with no lefties, will eventually put meaningful chip on it. And he's not willing to give up the Arcanine yet. He goes to his other Intimidate Mon, which this one at least avoids getting paralyzed. And he's going to go for Bite. Wow, and he's going to get him with the flinch as well. I honestly, I'll tell you, I didn't even know that Mence learned Bite, so I learned something, but that was really, really relevant, unfortunately. The Mence would always survive a non-crit there, so some relevant luck there for Tyros, making this game much closer than it was before. And Tyros may pull away now because he finishes off the Kangaskhan that was already low. Maybe a non-crit here can be survived, and that is what happens, but he's not able to kill on the retaliation. Doesn't seem to have HP Bug. And obviously not going to live this Leaf Blade. Even if it weren't a crit, it would have gotten him. And now Arcanine, unless he has extreme speed, and even then it wouldn't help him against the Rhydon in the back. But he doesn't seem to even have it. We saw Yeah, Flamethrower Arrest Thief. We don't actually know what the last move was. Could be Roar or Toxic or something like that. Probably doesn't have extreme speed, but like I said, even if he did and he wasn't full paralyzed, absolutely not going to help him against a 77% ride-on in the back. Not a lot that he could do. Some relevant hacks that game. Not saying he only won because of hacks. In fact, he didn't even show his last Mon in the game anyway. He, of course, showed it after the fact, as is the rules of the tournament, so we can't reuse Mons. The answer is, by the way, the last poke was Houndoom for DarthTyros. Fire Blast, Crunch, Pursuit, Will-O-Wisp is what he went with. And that makes sense that he's pairing that with the Snorlax. But yeah, game 1 of Tyros in a best of 3. Gold going to have to rattle off 2 in a row. Otherwise, it'll be Tyros through to the round of 16 in this tournament. And here is the second game. If it doesn't fit perfectly or look exactly like the other game did, it's not my fault. It's because Stupid Showdown or whoever makes these decisions chose to have them in the Showdown tab rather than their own independent tab like it used to be. And sometimes they're just a little bit more off to the left or a little bit more off to the right. They're not in the same place in every tab. And I'm going to bitch about that in every video for the rest of my life because it drives me nuts and it is a dumb decision. I really hope somebody points that out and they fix it because it's dumb. Alright, game 2. Let's go ahead and switch the sides for continuity. And Tyros will be on the bottom again and Mason on the top. Normally, Glalie is a pretty safe lead and a pretty reliable spiker, but one of the things that it really can't be staying in against is Metagross, who gets an immediate attack raise, and now he's got agility. Zard better pray there's no Rock Slide coming, which there was, so Gold gets out of the way wisely. But Venusaur can't survive the +1 mash. And neither can Medicham. And Charizard can't dodge Rock Slide. And he doesn't even, he had an opportunity there. He could have tried to play for a Rock Slide or a Meteor Mash miss. He does have the ability to dodge those moves, but he might very well be right that even if he were to dodge those, not only does he not necessarily kill the thing on the way back with the Choice Band Earthquake, but even then, he is so damn far behind. How realistic is a comeback? I don't know that that is necessarily a premature forfeit, but this very well could be a lesson on, well, boys, this is why you ban Metagross. It also just might be a questionable team build for Mason, because he knew that he was already down a game, and he brings this very Metagross vulnerable team to game 2. His only, quote, rock resist is Medicham, which doesn't really count, and that's only, quote, steel resist. Again, like Starmie, Charizard, they don't really count given the other coverage moves that it can have. This team just seems way too squishy and very, very vulnerable to a Metagross that you know is there. Now, granted, that might be a results-based statement, kind of hindsight 2020. Obviously, if GoldMason brings this team and Tyros does not bring Metagross, and this aggro team plays out the way that it was intended to, from Mason's point of view, and he wins, he might be way more padded going into Game 3 against the Metagross. Something I've observed throughout this tournament, and I think this is going to continue to ring through all the way to the end, is that winning Game 1 is really, really important and really relevant in this tournament because it puts all the pressure on your opponent, and it puts them in a really weird spot where, like, if they lose Game 2, they're out of the tournament, so, like, they have to bring their better stuff and not just get curb stomped in Game 2, but that gives you the counter option of just bringing your junk in Game 2, letting them have that game, and then just having a super broken team in Game 3, which we've already seen 2 people do both times successfully. So there really is an additional layer of strategy in this tournament as to the order in which you bring your teams. Circling it back to this, I mean, we saw nothing from Tyros. He literally just soloed with the Metagross. So really the lesson is probably just ban Metagross unless you can first pick it. But, yeah, in hindsight, should Mason have brought something else? Should he have built differently? It's really hard to say. It's very easy to be results-based here. But certainly the meta, something that this team just could not and did not handle. It took just 7 turns, anticlimactic in this case, but it is going to be a 2-0 victory for DarthTyros over Gold, and he's going to be through to the round of 16. And there's going to be one more match that, as of the time of this recording, is yet to be played. That's going to be Jumpy 23 and Bowl. That is the final match that you're going to see on YouTube of the round of 32. Obviously, there were 16 matches, and I just don't have the time and resources to cover all of them. But I'm hoping that as of next round, I can cover everything, and if not, I can at least cover 4 or 5 of them, and certainly from the round of 8 on, I'm going to cover everything, but I'm going to try to cover everything in the round of 16 as well. But yeah, my little talk here after the game lasted longer than the game, so I'll cut it off here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing if you're into the content, whether it's this tour or any of the other tours that I've been hosting, and I will see you guys in the next battle.